parents, it's our job to advocate for our children, and for parents with children of special needs, it can be a lot more important. I've got a wonderful story to share with you today. So you've navigated the NDIS. Alicia, tell me a bit more about this great story.
Okay, well, this is Natalie. Natalie has a partner and 2 beautiful children. There's George, who's 4, and Tiaki, who's just
11 months.
Oh, he's 11 months. When I first met you guys, he was just like 6 weeks old or something. He was tiny. You know, he's this big hunk of chunk of baby. He's gorgeous. And yeah, basically for Natalie and for her son George, this is the first funding that they've ever been eligible for. And so, Natalie, do you want to just so George has Moebius Syndrome. Natalie, do you want to explain what Moebius Syndrome is?
Okay, so Moebius Syndrome is a very rare condition characterised by facial paralysis and club feet. So it has affected George's ability to speak, his eating and drinking, and with the feet, his mobility. So he's pretty shaky on his feet. But because it's such a rare condition, in the early stages when we were looking for funding to support his therapies and things, there was just nothing available. We fell through the cracks and it was devastating.
Yeah, so basically when I first met with Natalie, her biggest concerns were that, you know, George was this beautiful, bright young boy, but because of his facial paralysis, and also he had a stoma as well at the time, although that has now been cleared up, he couldn't verbalise properly. And so even though he understood everything that was being said to him, he couldn't communicate back. And George's preferred method of communicating was Auslan. And so Natalie and her partner, they had a very basic Auslan training course, but George was now 3, almost 4. He should have been able to be communicating more and all that sort of stuff, you know, as our 3-year-olds do. But he's not deaf, so he could hear everything and he could understand everything, but he was not able to communicate back. And in the past, because as Natalie said, Moebius Syndrome wasn't on any list because it was just so rare, there hadn't been any funding before, and even things like Auslan training, because again, that was the way that George preferred to communicate. So rather than flip books with pictures and things, which some people use, which are wonderful, George preferred Auslan. And it had gotten to a point where Natalie was no longer able to take his communication any further because she herself didn't know it. And she shared with me emails, just long lines of emails. Seriously, I was there scrolling for ages through these emails of all these different ways that she had tried to get funding for this so her and her partner could get Auslan training themselves in order to be able to teach their son how to communicate properly. And unfortunately, because he's not deaf, nothing was available. And so when we met, she was
at the end of my tether.
Yeah. And it was hard.
Yeah.
And Natalie was sharing her story and she cried. I cried.
I'm just about to cry.
Yeah, it was a
It's
big
hard.
thing.
It's hard enough being a parent, and then when you know you need help, not being able to get the help that you require and not knowing where to go. So I'm guessing Alicia and the team at Mission Australia have been very helpful.
Oh, incredibly helpful. My understanding is that it's not common for funding to be given to parents so that they can be taught the skills that they need to then teach their child. So for Alicia to really listen to our story and our situation, and then to see how much Dan and I needed this support, and then to advocate for us, not just George, she got the results. So I'm very grateful for that.
Life-changing.
Yeah.
And, Natalie was a bit afraid as well about doing the NDIS.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah. I'd heard lots of stories, mostly negative.
Because that's all you hear in the media.
Yeah. So I was very apprehensive. But Alicia just calmed my nerves and just made the whole process really smooth. And yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
So they've helped you sort out the issues of getting funding, and it's just made your life so much easier.
Yeah, it really has, because now that we have this funding, I'm in control of that. So I have this control and I can allocate that funding to wherever George needs it at the time. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about the NDIS. It's not, we don't tell you where you have to spend it. It comes down to the parent, because in the end, Natalie knows George best. And so we give the funding where we see it's needed, but it's up to these guys to book appointments and to make sure that
They use the funding.
and what's most important at that time.
Yeah, and even we have goals for how we want to spend our funding, and we've had our plan for a few months now. And I can see that the way that I initially thought I would be spending those funds is already changing a bit as George grows and gets new skills. I can kind of channel that funding better, or more time appropriate.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah. So
because you might be developing faster in certain areas, but then it's like, oh, he needs more work over here. So there is flexibility within our plan to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for people watching right now that have got, a similar situation to yours?
My advice would be, if you have a child who is eligible for NDIS, to apply, to make sure that you get as many support documents as you can so that you are approved, and to look forward to the possibilities of what the NDIS can provide you. To just get in there and then find your manager, and hopefully there's a great connection there, and I'm sure there will be. And then to just, just use all of your strength to use that funding that you then have access to.
You've got to find your own Alicia. But the beautiful thing is, she's in Mission Australia. You can have her. Yeah. Go and see her.
Or one of the amazing
the other ones as well
people that I work with.
Yes, because there's several cases.
There's quite a few of us, and the women that I work with, we're all women at this stage. But they're all amazing, the women that I work with in the ECEI team, and all incredibly passionate. And
it must be a complete relief, though, to have someone that's fighting with you for what your child needs.
Yeah, it's incredible. Alicia's voice is much louder than mine, and so
this is true.
You sing
More
much
ways
better than me. Yeah.
So there you have it. If you're watching right now and you need some help with the NDIS, you need to go and see the team at Mission Australia. They would love to help you on this journey. And remember, any improvement or joy experience for your child because of your advocacy makes everything worth it. And whether it's something small that you're worried about or something big, just go and see the team. They'd be happy to help you.